Rook, interested in visiting the Memorial Gardens?
What are you up to?
I must tend to some rites in the necropolis. I'd like to show you its more peaceful side.
A visit to some gardens sounds nice. Maybe.
Thank you again for coming. My duties include tending to these rites of remembrance. Excellent. Manfred found his way down. Very good, Manfred.
He sounds excited.
So precious.
I thought we'd start the rites here. A tableau of the dead, commissioned 173 years ago. These lives were flickers against the ages, precious, fragile, and finite. Now they serve as a warning. Don't linger overlong in the gloom. Live with grace and fervor while you may.
It's like being in a very, very specialized museum.
Yes, but the purpose of the tableau...
Wait, did one just move?
That one's livelier. Here. Who were you when you breathed above?
This body was a tailor's, a mother's. She laughed and taught and wove the robes kings wore when they were crowned.
Someone must realign her thoracic vertebrae. I hope the novices are inspecting the displays.
Seems disrespectful to abandon something you built.
Precisely. No wonder there's been an uptick in hauntings.
Wait, what?
Let's continue.
Just gonna brush right past the hauntings thing, okay?
So what now?
We light candles in remembrance of the dead. Would you care to light the candle, Rook? Look at this. The last tomb of the Tannhausens. A very influential family in the Storm Age.
We broke the bones of dragons.
A posthumous motto. Their last heir met his match against a Highland Ravager.
Death by dragon? I'm surprised there was enough to bury.
Do you know, I never expected that the door we found back in the Vault of the Beloved would lead here.
So the necropolis actually shuffles its rooms around?
From time to time. Very unlikely to happen while we're inside a chamber. Could you light the next candle? Aha! One of my favorite flowers! A variegated weeping widower.
You know your plants.
Alchemy is my hobby. It's a break from teaching spirit calling and theoretical applied metaphysics.
Bet you'd love some of the books the Shadow Dragons liberated from a few magisters.
This way, Rook.
You were right about the gardens being peaceful.
The necropolis has its dangers, but these places are a refuge for the dead.
How many people are buried here anyway?
Excellent question. We rarely should take a new census.
Examining the graves?
I'll have fun.
You'll need to light these candles as well. Open your hearts to the final day, companion of all the ages. I was pleasantly surprised by your respect for our undead tableau earlier, Rook. I'm beginning to think people outside Navarra find the necropolis a little unnerving.
Shadow Dragons are used to weird architecture. More skulls here, though.
The spirits gather. Only a few more candles. Follow me. Ah, look here!
Hi? Should I say hi?
It's curious about you. We're also enjoying the gardens, but with one last ritual ahead. On your way, my friend.
Spirits really are your specialty.
I've always had a rapport with them. Even as a child, they were my companions.
After you started training here?
After I was orphaned.
Oh.
A collapsed building, swift deaths. After the funeral, the Watchers took me in.
Belated condolences, if that's worth anything.
Always. We move on, as we must, but those long nights linger about the shadows.
How did you deal with it?
I didn't. When I first arrived here, I was terrified.
And you still joined the Watchers?
They're what saved me.
Oh.
Come, the next set of graves lies ahead. Please, light the next candles if you would. There's much to recommend about the rhythm of a ceremony. It eases our worst hours. As a boy, the Watcher's rituals were exactly what I needed to steady my days with purpose.
And some death magic?
Well, every young mage needs a speciality. All this pageantry, this magnificent gloom and its rites, I ask you, Rook, what is it for?
It's gotta be the living, right?
Yes, exactly. This place is an abundance of history, of magic, of memories. The Watchers preserve it so the living may draw comfort from those who've gone before.
Maybe Manfred would like to light one.
We must get to the candle, please, Manfred.
You told Harding that Manfred used to be a wisp until you gave him a body?
Yes, he's taken so well to it. Haven't you, Manfred? Here are the last candles you'll need to light. Once you're ready, we'll need to ring the bell. Let the rites be acknowledged. Our bonds seen and sealed. We honor the listening spirits.
That was quite nice. Oh. Hello.
Hail from the abyss.
We witness, good watcher, faith kept in all our paths.
What was...
The necropolis hosts many spirits. We thank these guardians for their protection and friendship. We'll need to ring the bell once more to close out the departing ceremony.
So you were really afraid of this place as a child?
It wasn't the necropolis itself, but what was draped around it. Have you ever been frightened by the thought of dying, Rook?
I mean, as much as anyone else, I suppose.
Well, hasn't everyone from time to time?
When I was younger, it happened more often than that. That's when I discovered I possess a great terror of dying. It goes beyond dread. Can't be reasoned with or soothed over. It comes without warning. In the dead of night, in sunlit streets, a raw, strangling fear struck somewhere deep past the heart.
That's an issue for a necromancer.
Oddly, I discovered I wasn't alone. I debated this fear with friends. I argued with teachers. Yet, it lingered. Manfred's right. That's maudlin enough. There are struggles, but a watcher should always find peace amongst the graves. And what sort of host would I be if we didn't end with some light refreshment?
Always such a gentleman.
That sounds great. Thanks.
Would you mind letting Manfred pour? He does so love seeing the steam rise from the cups.
Manfred, such beautiful innocence. That actually was rather peaceful. But now let's get into something chaotic. I don't know what it'll be, but it certainly won't be like this. Hard tone shift into something messy.
Okay, Emmrich, did you like the new book more than the Gornight novels?
I fear the revered mothers of massacre was a bit much for me.
Really? I thought you'd be used to gruesome.
In real life, there's a chance to bring dignity to the dead and comfort to their families. Also, these novels grasp of anatomy.
A half-spirit goat man might have 3 hearts.
Emmrich really is so polite because I bet it was excruciating for him to read that, but he read it anyways.
With all my regards, but I don't want them to think me homesick.
Hi, Emmrich.
Rook, hello. Just composing a few letters. The other Watchers have been most interested in our adventures.
What's the Grand Necropolis like?
Its majesty has stilled the tongues of kings and queens. It's a haven for spirits and the dead, a vast well of history, the duty and shelter of every Watcher. We who serve it are pledged to an eternal vigil.
What do Watchers, watch for?
There are stranger and more dangerous things than spirits in the Fade, Rook. The Watchers stand against them when their shadows rise.
Anything lately?
A few portents I cannot put down solely to the chaos of the elven gods, but nothing definitive, perhaps only shivers in the void.
So, I've heard people call necromancers mortalitasi. What's the difference between them and the Mornwatch?
Oh, all Navaran necromancers are mortalitasi. The Watchers are a special order within them.
Very fancy.
We've certain privileges and attendant responsibilities.
What's the Mornwatch do?
Our first duty is safekeeping the Grand Necropolis and preparing the funerary dead. Another is stopping misuse of dark magic and necromancy.
Must keep you busy.
Not often, but on occasion.
I couldn't help overhearing the word homesick.
Oh, I'm fine. Completely absorbed in our venture. But if I were home, I'd be preparing for new students or requests to speak to the dead.
You didn't stop teaching just to be with us, did you?
I'm long overdue for a sabbatical. Besides, do you know how many students the faculty wanted in my class next season? 10! How's one meant to tailor separate lessons for 10 pupils at a time? Honestly.
10? If only.
Can people just ask you to show up for some corpse whispering?
Oh, nothing official. There are very few of us, but we help here and there. Questioning a victim of murder, clearing up disputed wills, and sometimes fetching back last words from a loved one.
You can get anything out of the dead and they just let you leave Navara?
My gift has limitations. The dead only know what they did in life. What was clear under the sun is sometimes blurred when I revive them.
Makes sense.
Honestly, some conversations aren't worth the trouble. Death encourages obstinacy.
Good to chat. I'll let you get back to your letter.
Before you go, I wanted to thank you for your company in the Memorial Gardens. There's another ceremony I have to perform there. If you'd like to visit again. Not yet, but soon.
Of course. Yeah, Meravas enjoyed that. Being a mage, she knows that necromancy's just a school of magic. She's not scared of it or anything. And she does enjoy his company in a platonic way, though. And she knows about missing home. She gets to visit Minrathis and Docktown, but she hasn't seen her parents in a long time, so yeah, I think she'd want to empathize with him a bit here.
Sounds good. Sometimes I miss home too.
Rook, I'm not... well, perhaps a little.
You'll cheer up once we look at some graves, I bet.
The ceremony should be most centering. I'll let you know when it's time.
Yeah, it's okay to miss home. It's good he has Manfred, though. Somebody to provide some company. The Great Passage. How strange to wake up and realize I've no lessons to plan. My last batch of pupils were well set, or so I pray, when classes ended. Edwina and Lorimer sent letters. How flattering to be remembered by one's former students. Ensconced in the lighthouse, I can't help but think of the first question so many of them ask. If it's true that for every person who dies, a spirit must enter the mortal world in return. It often surprises them to learn this idea is purely Navaran. Summoning a benign spirit to answer this question is one of my favorite practical demonstrations, and such a treat for the novices. The line of inquiry, students swiftly learn, is impossible. The majority of spirits have difficulty grasping the very concept of quantities, let alone numbers. No one, mortal or otherwise, appears to know how to tally both the people in the world and spirits in the Fade. Yet I cannot dismiss the idea that there might be some unknowable exchange of Fade-born spirit and human soul. This folklore is entwined with the very founding of Navara, and if I have learned anything here, it is that the Fade is stranger than even we of the Necropolis have imagined. Okay, so I think we'll run around a bit now and clean up some of the side quests we've got in the journal here, and Mera is going to invite the two people with whom she has the lowest affinity in the hopes of gaining some friendship points, which is Lucanis, since we're still trying to win back his trust after Treviso, and I honestly don't know how this happened, but also Neve, our fellow Shadow Dragon. So yeah, we're gonna go pick some fights and hope that it impresses these two.
Red lyrium is showing up all over the city. The Venatori are using it for power, it seems.
Nasty stuff, that red lyrium. Nightmarish. Grows like a parasite if it gets inside you. At the end, you're more red lyrium than blood or flesh or anything that makes you human.
And there's no cure?
If there is, I don't know it.
Rook!
Dorian. Magister Pavis. Gotta put some respect on his name.
Rook.
Magister Talani. We're just gonna say each other's names.
Tarquin?
Gallus.
Guess so.
Things are going well.
Ah, there we go. Thanks, Asher. Yes, they're going well.
Neve, those civil engineers you sent from Meravis are a great help.
Who said that was me?
They went directly to Treviso's southern lock gates, which I remember mentioning to you the other day.
Look, I was owed a favor, and I've got nothing for an engineer to do. Now everything's square.
Whatever the reason, thank you.
This is what I've been saying. Secret sweetheart over here.
What?
Nothing. You're just so serious.
So are you.
Cynical, sure. Nice shot, Lucanis.
Please, go on.
Cynical, sure. Married to the job, I'll give you that one too, but serious? Have I crossed that line? Well, what now? Do I brood to the middle distance? Speak in solemn tones?
All right. I take it back.
You know, you're somewhat famous among the Shadow Dragons. At least the Demon of Virantium is.
Famous or infamous?
Because you're a mage killer. You turned that title on the Venatori. That's a point in your favor.
I saw some of the Shadows work before. Well, anyway, their good opinion is worth having. Looking for a little light reading?
I thought Solus might have some books on ancient dwarves. What do you like to read for fun, Lucanis?
Romance.
Romance? Really?
Why is that so hard to believe?
Okay, so Lucanis likes Neve, right? Like, don't tell me if I'm right. We'll get there together. All right, Manfred, here we go. Best out of 3. One for Mera. One for Fred. This one wins it all. Good job, Manfred. He always throws paper, so Meravas let him win.
You call Manfred Fred?
Sure. He walked into my office. I said, Fred, can I call you Fred? He nodded. Seemed happy about it. If he doesn't like it...
Oh, Manfred doesn't mind. He quite likes you. Does the diminutive imply a certain level of comfort with the necromantic arts?
It shows a certain level of comfort with your friend. The rest of it, well, that depends.
On what?
On what the mage using it is up to.
Mm-hmm. Sound reasoning.
Shit. You shouldn't have to deal with all this, Rook. The sooner I can get out of here, the better.
And I think the only people we haven't seen yet are Tosh and Davrin. Oh, and Balara, I guess. She's probably tinkering.
Hey, Davrin. We gotta talk about Solus's magic memory thing.
What? Why?
Why didn't you tell me you were a spirit?
Because I'm not.
I thought we were friends.
I'm not a spirit, Tosh.
Is that because people might think you're a demon? Because I'm from Ravane. We're okay with spirits.
But apparently not with listening. I am not a spirit.
Hey, you don't have to be ashamed of who you are.
Never said I was, but thank you, Tosh.
Meravas' friends are so weird, and she loves them so much.
Any luck tracking down your mystery friend?
The Shaper didn't like me asking about Shaper Valta. Or harassing people with talk of dwarven magic.
Damn, that's a disappointment.
Well, I'm not gonna find my answers in Orzammar. My contacts had no idea what I was talking about.
So, what now?
I was thinking, the voice said look to those closest to the stone. What if she never meant Orzammar?
Eh?
There is another great Tig, the original capital of the dwarves, Kalsharak. It was lost during the First Blight, and its people survived in isolation for hundreds of years. They re-emerged, some 20 years ago?
And you think they're close to the stone?
Orzammar can't help. What have I got to lose?
Are you sure Orzammar isn't hiding something?
Pressing them for information would be tricky. I could anger someone important. If Kalsharak doesn't turn out, I can go back to poking at Orzammar. But not before then.
I'm curious about Kalsharak's isolation.
The dwarves took heavy losses during the First Blight. To stop the Darkspawn from overrunning them, they closed off passages in the deep roads. Those that could retreated to Orzammar. Kalsharak was lost. They abandoned the city and its people, sealed them away with the Darkspawn.
There must have been another way. What they did was monstrous.
Can you imagine being trapped, knowing death was coming?
But they didn't die. The rumors...
That the dwarves of Kalsharak had to change to survive? No one's really sure what that means exactly.
When we find them, you can ask. How do we get in touch with these Kalsharak dwarves?
Already working on it. You don't spend 10 years in the Inquisition without making contacts. I should have a meeting set up by the time we're ready to leave.
Well, now we know what we're doing tomorrow.